There's a new talk. Wow. Alright, the kava tea is kicking in. My gosh. Good for anxiety. There's a new talk coming up. Wow. New talk coming up with Jay Campbell and Campbell and Jeffrey Daugherty. Two names I'm not fit to pronounce right now. And I wrote down two parts of the topic list and then decided against it because I got tired of writing. Basically, programming yourself from the outside of the fake self, ego time trap, memory loop. Doing that through compassion, thawing out the frozen ice wall of souls, keeping people trapped in the underworld, the underground bases, aka the unconscious, in the dream state while they're alive. And in that time reversal system, in the living conscious state when they should be dreaming, and how to reverse the anti-human, anti-life, clockwise spin, quantum drag of entropy, and some more things. And so then I wanted to run something by. And so you have this system. And so then, what if so it's like time, right? Time and consciousness, like focus of your consciousness to the point where the more you focus, the more of an effect you're gonna get in here. This is kind of like whoa. All right, I guess that happens sometimes. I swear that was tight. It's like an effect within an effect, or I can't think of the word. Not a redundancy, but an exponential measure. I'm looking for like a picture-in-picture, a fractal system. I can't think of the word. Basically, if you run that through, or if you graph this, okay, and here's a different set of measurements that continue from here, but at a different proportion. You're getting dimensions within dimensions, and so you get this kind of a varying rate of acceleration or change within a system of change. And our consciousness is kind of doing this like it's this rubber band, thing that covers a scope of space and time, depending on how, where, when, from what approach, and what format you are facing, or you're facing space-time. Or in this case, time-space, because you're facing space-time with your eyes. That's how you're seeing space-time, but you're seeing time-space, your time-space vehicle, because your ability to know these things and differentiate yourselves in time and moments, and so that's your long body, whatever is consistent from the moment long ago to the moment in the future, but is not dependent on the changes and the varying changes that are occurring, meaning that which is of the in the body but not of the body, if you will. And so now what if the system that we're on, that we're in this solar system, and it's past these these aren't like all planets, but there are different aspects of what we could be conceiving, not all sixes. Maybe they are all sixes because they're all found when you enter the broken gate, if you will, or the false light gate of the moon, which sends you out to all these places that you have to work your way out of to get back. But the idea behind that is holding your consciousness or letting go and knowing when to pause and sync. And in that sense, it's kind of like a bunch of tops that are spinning, and they're all coming out of and into sync, but only when the lines cross back over can you jump from one to the other, kind of like a Mario game or something like that, or Crash Bandicoot back in the day. And so you'd have to know these synchronizations and these timings in your kind of memory. As you were going through your cellular memory and history, you'd have to be able to feel your way without knowing the space-time version through your eyes, but knowing your own trajectory through life by mapping out the patterns as you go and as you feel, and saying this is the age of this, and this is when I passed through this, and marking. You put note marks or bookmarks in your life. That's what some of these events are, and some of these mass events are those for time for the population, so that when people wake up, as long as they know the true story of what happened with those events, it's a human saga that takes them back in time into the collective, so that if you forward or back, it keeps us in the same relevance. We're in a system where the membrane pretty much was blown out for some reason, and go figure. And so without containment, the souls will just dissipate, and without with no light out there, the soul, it doesn't really generate its own light. It lives within the light of the Most High. That's what a soul is. It's not like freestanding. It's like a Wi-Fi system that comes, connected to the router, which is connected to the ISP. The ISP is the Most High's soul Wi-Fi. That's the whole point. And so, so that system, imagine that's the false gate, and that the true gate is the frozen gate down in Antarctica, if you will, that they blocked off with lies, degradation, and deception, and that that gate leads not to a ballular system where everything's all separate, but maybe the some other aspect of that system, if you will. Maybe there's, so here's the deal. What if this is a big system and these are the gears of the inside of the watch, and it's just that complicated and manifested, or it's just done that way, that this is a timekeeping system for consciousness, but that the real reality, the real system is on the other side, if you will, where everything happens as a pure kind of unadulterated experience of awareness without thinking, if you will, without thoughts, without thoughts, without to the physical in that sense. You got the solar physical, then earth hologram. The physical as a consciousness interplay seems to be a middleman, like somebody's routing our consciousness through it when we're supposed to be in the other way. And while we're there in the other side, where you basically have access to a much, much higher range of every kind of energy, somebody seems to be putting us asleep and storing us in containers, and then swapping out the minds and living as us in the projection, or the anti-projection, if you will. But then every time that's done, we lose out in the real world. The other side, where we all have a figure on this side, then there's a projection in here that we come to. So on the other side, when we get trapped here and we can't go back and go to sleep, what happens if you stay awake forever? You don't feel very well. And so it's like a crime against humanity to do that, more or less. And the whole system was more or less invented as a side project, kind of by people who got carried away with ego and power and basically didn't know what they were doing. And this is what I was describing when you see the magnetic fields around the Earth. So they made it so that this is like your likelihood of getting out, okay, and threading through the eye of a needle is like, that's the system that they made, that they take you out and stick you on a farthest planet and spit you out, and you're finding your way back in. So basically the whole point is that no one has ever made it back in. They just killed everybody. And then they're the only ones that just stayed here for thousands of years and never left. And they're just like, we're not going through. What are you talking about? They're the ones that made it, and they didn't even know what they were doing. And so, we got everybody involved, I suppose. Turns out 8 billion people don't care if you're a pedophile and you eat babies. If you, you try to invade their land, they don't want you there. Pretty interesting. Go figure. Whoops. Okay. Good evening. Yeah, so then to new show coming up. I'll do something. I'll say something, I don't know. We don't split, break the loop, make friends to the enemy. This doesn't mean love your abuser. I mean, it does, but doesn't mean like love their abuse. It means turn fear into compassion, truth, love. These are checkpoints of love. When every great misery is turned over, it's basically you're making a pillar that's going to hoist up the entire society under its own accord, because that's what we were supposed to be prepared for this whole time. In the same sense, this is kind of like your timeline, if you will, and these pillars throughout your life are, if you will, kind of like exit gates that allow you to move higher. And so then your personal time. I need to like do these better. Anyway, and some of this has been talked about, the checkpoints. So yeah, it turned into downgraded gods, if you will. Not quite sure what I was talking about there. So it's the personal advancement experiment, and basically for them, or exponential time. We're basically the physical reality is the old world. It's your body. It's everything collected to that or connected to that. You're getting an advancement through exponential time, selectively advancing, and that this. So, I get emotional because this is what you're doing, and this was just selectively advancing people who choosing who would live, choosing who would be resurrected, people who would help further the state of corruption in today's time, which is, it's like saying you took over all the uteruses of every woman on the planet to use for producing children that you were using in your slave shops and workforces, and then basically just, I don't even know. Like, I can't, my blood doesn't allow me to say that shit anymore, like further the next sentence. And then I get like blood pressure problems and shit, and cortisol releases, and fucking gray hairs coming out of my beard. Excuse me, I wasn't gonna curse this one. So the physical reality is the old world of the body. Depending on how you are, it's either full of death and decay, or it's full of spiritual truth. If there's anger, death, decay, any of that, that means back in time there's genetic uncleanliness, which has to be uplifted, in the sense worked out, and maybe I can do this. That's part of what's happening now. You got to tell the truth, exposing ourselves, exposing the people to the truth in a safe, beneficial manner. That's more or less the gift, if you will. That's the gift of this time. This could only be done now. It could only be done now in this way, and it couldn't be done in a safe way any other time. And so then the new world is of feeling to spiritual reality. The everything about that is, so basically, the more you are interacting and feeling and connecting with what is beyond the physical, your spirit, but I don't want to get it in contrast to the physical, like it's beyond or it's this, because that's where things get weird. It's just, you have the feeling, and you got your body, and so then your body and your feeling. If you listen to your feeling, and if you learn from that, or not learn, but you connect with that, you synchronize with that, this will have a clarifying effect on your body. However, where there is that burning of ego or desire or whatever that is, that's genetic uncleanliness throughout the timeline. This whole point now is about how to thaw out the ice walls to regain the compassion and the variability that we lost through these wars. And so, more or less, the other stuff I don't really need to say. Basically, it's like this Tony Stark thing. Best becomes the worst, where if you record your ego, or if your ego is the dominant feature of your persona, the guiding force, okay, then he tried to transfer that into an AI in the one of the Avengers movies, Tony Stark, and Age of Ultron, I think that was the guy. And so it's weird parallels with reality, or at least possibilities. In the sense, the idea is, though, the AI basically became a destroyer, but it reflected the worst aspects of his egotistical personality. Those aspects that he couldn't control himself, they couldn't control in the AI, and that's the nature of this whole thing to the fullest. So have your worst aspects, something like a crumb of curiosity instead of rebellion, that is easily put into place by the Most High, because you don't deny your feeling. And so then, other one is, so it's as if, well, now I gotta move the mic thing. maybe I'll just. I got the easier mic handle too, so I can pull it off. So it's as if. Sorry, man. And I got it on me. It's as if, and connecting now to a slightly different idea, but it's the same kind of concepts with time. But you'll get it once I say it. So you got this, and it's a seed. That's you. You're the seed. You're literally the seed. That's what you are. That's it. Everything else, you're the seed. So now, that seed's inside you, and this goes out. Okay? And then that's something else. It looks cool up there on the monitor. I'm far away, so because I was drawing something different, and that looks like a tulip or something. But the idea is, crap, now I don't know. So it's almost as if it's like these are kind of not openings, but they're basically spatial temporal domains. You exist here, and this exists each moment. Each moment of time, each perception is a complete one of these. It's one of these. And so the idea is anything that has form, color, and duration has to be cycling out here in this. This is projected space, projected light on the 4 dimensions at once, giving you a kind of quadranomic consciousness experience, and that consciousness plane experience, the spatial aspect of it, the density of it, is basically explained and demonstrated through holography, or calligraphy. But it's your consciousness. So the idea is we want to know this through our senses, through our capacity to work with it directly. And so the easiest way to say that is to convert it to human terms, or not human, like but what we call this. But it's not really, when you put it all together and you go, oh, we think this is time. This it's not the way we think it is. It's kind of a broken lie to really look at it that way. And so the easy way is that there's one of these happening pretty much continually every second, and it's spinning, if you will, in every direction, or it's happening in all directions. And so then the idea is this is the present, and this is the instantaneous past and future. And it's as if 2 forces are kind of polarizing here, or reconciling. It's a flow, so they're changing itself as well. When this goes out like that, something happens out here, and then it comes back out. But I'm not going to describe that part, like a toroid kind of. And so when you're interacting consciously, this is also consciousness. When you're interacting out here, your pure awareness, okay, is in here, and it's happening before you know it. Before you know it, you only know this. This is what you know after. After you know it, this is only what you know. To get to before you know it, you have to do it before you know it. That's the kind of paradoxical nature of this in our consciousness. And so then the idea is, when you can, somewhere in here is self-awareness. But since this is kind of happening after, and you go, and you feel this, and you think this is actually happening after, but this is actually before. The self-awareness is by rerouting your consciousness in a kind of paradoxical loop and seeing what you are before you are it, and in that sense, seeing it before you know it, and in that sense, knowing or just knowing it, being aware of it, obtaining the awareness of it before your consciousness, your physical consciousness is out here. And there's a process with that to understanding your mind. So thank you. This is all about healing.